Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. Today it's all about Sky Sports Fantasy Football. There's £50,000 up for grabs for the winner. But who will rid us of these meddlesome single game days? Well, step forward, a bunch of protesting Manchester United fans. So more of that later. My name is Joe, and joining me ahead of Game Week 35's further fixtures is Luke. Luke, how are you?
I'm not so bad, Joe. I'm okay. Yeah, it was a nice surprise, wasn't it, to get... Well, I say nice surprise. It's a bit strange that they just plonked in a triple game week in FPL, or obviously not quite the same here, but essentially three fixtures where no one thought they would, all within the space of a couple of days. So, chaos.
So handy as well. So whilst all the Manchester United players may not play three times, although there may be one that will, but we'll come to that later, it certainly opens up options, and it means I won't have to get a Crystal Palace player in, so all is well. And if you've got Vestergaard, you can get rid of him, so even better there for those owners. Before we look at those changes to the fixtures, let's look at some of the latest Tier 2 and Man of the Match stars for the week. What we've got here is Man of the Matches. Lewis Dunk, so did say he was going to be the best captain last week on that particular day, and he did indeed come good for his owners. Walker Peters, I put him in here in this list thinking, we might need a Southampton asset. Walker Peters is an option, but don't bother. Antonio, Havertz, Aguero, Martinelli, Watkins and Bale. I think out of those, Antonio is most interesting because it just proves his value. He's back. And if he can stay fit for the rest of the season, he could be a great option.
I just want to touch on this while we're talking there now. Antonio might be the reason my season... I mean, the amount of subs I've used on him in and out, and now I got Bowen, didn't I, to be different to Lingard, who was my captain, and then Antonio comes back out of nowhere and Bowen's benched as a result. I'm pretty sure if I held Antonio through all of his blanks, I'd probably be doing better off.
Well, just for Souček. I mean, earlier on the season, Souček was actually the better option because he was fit and scoring. But yeah, I think that's a lesson I'll carry into next season. I have made far too many mid-priced midfield changes, and I've probably used about 5 to 10 transfers on, currently got Rafinha, who hasn't turned up, and arguably I should have moved him on. But lots of those transfers. Passing tier 2, I've just put blanket City, Spurs, and Chelsea defenders. So especially with City, you don't know which defender's going to turn up. Whoever turns up, probably going to get you something there. Tielemans, Højbjerg, there of note. Tackles tier 2, Cancelo and Reece James of note. Saves tier 2, McCarthy, but he won't play the next two. We've had confirmation from Hasenhüttl that Forster is getting the next two, and McCarthy is then, you would imagine, be back again. So if you've got McCarthy or Forster, it could be time. Arguably a time to move on a long time ago, but yeah, definitely move on because you're not going to get the rest of the fixtures out of them. Johnston and Ramsdale also getting saves. And shots tier 2, Silver at Wolves, not interested in Wolves, but Gareth Bale. In my team I don't care about, I got Gareth Bale in and captained him. Whoop-de-doo.
Nice.
But I don't care about it. It's still like, I don't know, about 30, 40,000 in the world, yeah. So don't mind about that.
No.
So it was, looking back at the last game week in Sky, it wasn't very good for a lot of managers there.
No.
It was okay for those that perhaps got Chris Wood in, like we were suggesting last week. But let's have a look. So we'll get your team up first. So low on transfers, not much we can do. But you have got Martinez, Azpilicueta, Sionchu, Diaz, Saka, Fernandes, Bowen, Rafinha, Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Salah. So I don't know how many transfers you've got left. It's not that many. Do you plan to use any? And I mean, Bowen, Rafinha, I mean, arguably you've got quite a few you could do.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. It's just completely derailed my season. It's having that one player from a team, as I say, I've got 1 to 11 completely different players in order to cover those teams' captain. But that's no good when that player doesn't turn up. And Azpilicueta's not been playing occasionally. Diaz has obviously been not playing for City. Saka's not played for Arsenal. Bowen was randomly dropped as my captain. Rafinha's injured. So I'm going into game weeks with like 4 or 5 players sometimes 6 players in a week. So it just needs ridiculous surgery that I can't do because I don't have the transfers. So I'm kind of just floating, towards my death, basically. Yeah, so I don't. Again, I'm not really sure on plans. I mean, Rafinha. There was some comments this morning that I know he keeps saying they're monitoring day to day, but it seemed a little bit more positive, like he might be back, and their fixtures from now to the end of the season are actually pretty good. So I think now, as we've held him all this time, it's probably safe to keep him now, or wise to keep him, I should say, rather than ditch now, because otherwise, why have you held him? Some of the other guys, Saka, Azpilicueta, they're not injured. They could just suddenly come back and start playing. I think Azpilicueta in particular has been playing right wing back in Champions League. That's why he's been missing out. But it's kind of these stalwarts that we thought, like, we're going to get Azpilicueta because he's the most nailed Chelsea. We're going to get Diaz because he's the most nailed Man City player. And it's just not proved to be that way because obviously their focuses are elsewhere. And as a result, their best players have been rested to protect them from injury and everything else. So it's kind of gone counterintuitive. You're better off getting the likes of Nathan Ake and stuff like that for Man City than you are for Diaz at the moment, which is not. It's not a good look for Sky. You don't want to be using transfers to bring those kind of players in and then have to potentially move them out. So it's really been tough, and I think it's come down to your captain hauls essentially and a few sort of clever moves. I mean the one you touched on there, Dunk, anyone who just left him in after we all went for him, he's been great. I mean, he's getting the bonuses. Brighton have been very good defensively. We knew that all season. They're good.
They concede, he gets 5 points. So if you captain him, 10 points. They keep a clean sheet. You're looking at a double-digit haul, maybe 20 points for your captain him.
Exactly. So he's a player, I think, for next season, depending on price, he might be one you just get and leave for the season. He covers you for Brighton days. And like you say, if they're playing a similar system, and we know the stats heavily favour him, you just think even if they go on a poor run of 8 games and not doing anything, you just think they'll turn it around eventually. So I think Dunk is a good sort of season hold, save your transfers kind of player, depending on his price, of course, for next season. So it's just stuff like that I'm looking at really, and it's more lessons learned for next season now, like you were saying about spending transfers in the wrong areas But some of it's out of your control, It's 1 week it looks like it's looking bright, and suddenly you get new information. Fantasy football moves so quickly, doesn't it? And being robbed of these consistent passing bonus defenders from the likes of Chelsea and City has really stopped that constant stream of points for me. It's tough.
Yeah, definitely the rotation as well. I mean, it's something that I've spoken about on the Scoutcast over the years, really. But I think in the last 3 years, it's built up to the point where teams like City that we've already seen, but it's also Chelsea as well, Arsenal we're seeing it with, this squad-paced team, it's not really that first 11, so we can't rely on players, even if they're the best player, like De Bruyne, Manchester City's best player, can't rely on him starting, because they're in so many competitions, in such a squad-based game. And the thing is, De Bruyne doesn't mind. Oh, you're benched, Kevin. Don't care, because you're playing an important Champions League game in the next few days. So
exactly.
I mean, that's what we have to get used to, which is really tough in Sky because we have no bench. In FPL, there's obviously a bench. So for us,
for next season, Chelsea and City. I mean, people are probably going to think they're going to be the top 2. They've got the best squads, but there's going to be periods of time where the 11's probably going to be fairly settled, and period of times when it's not. So it's going to be very tough because we're all going to want their players. Everyone's going to want 2 or 3 from either of those teams. But then with such deep squads, it's going to be a tough look, I think, as soon as you get to. But we're always going to be tempted because, most games they're going to rock up and win 2 or 3-0 versus most teams.
So Liverpool next season are going to be stronger. You would imagine they would have a realistic alternative to Alexander-Arnold who can come in. So he might not be as nailed on. Robertson too. Already we're seeing Jota, Firmino, Salah, Mane, 4 going into 3. It doesn't work. So one of them drops out. It's usually been Firmino, maybe Jota. But we might see Salah rested more. Mane might not still be there. So we're looking at next season. And this rotation is something we're really going to have to get to grips with. We're also seeing that with Manchester United. Pogba plays in, comes in and out. It's been a great option in Sky when he plays. Play though.
Well, also on top of that, I mean, there's always people that come from somewhere and save us, but you have to think right now, Kane was probably as cheap as he's ever been as a result of not particularly good seasons. Now he's going to be, to be 12 million striker. If they keep the same brackets, he's going to be the new Aguero. He's going to be the 12 million striker. Then you've got Fernandes, who is obviously too cheap, so he's going to be like the most expensive midfielder. Then you've got the likes of, these undercover guys like Rafinha. I mean, they're now discovered. They're going to be expensive. Your Grealishes, etc. It's going to be really, really tough. But as ever, we always say this, and then some people come from nowhere, don't they? And we manage to find them.
I should be welcoming Buendia and Pookie with open arms and hope no one spotted their good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Fofana, we were blessed this season with so many cheap defenders that are very, very good, and even the premiums were sort of at the 8 million mark and 9 million mark, like DS. It's going to be, unless they change the structure, next season is going to be incredibly tough. You're all going to want Kane, Bruno,
Chris
Kevin
Wood,
De Bruyne.
Calvert-Lewin. I mean, just reel them off. Bamford. I mean, these amazing Sky assets all throughout the season. Okay, let's have a look at my team. So different. I've got 3 transfers left. I've got, I don't mind people knowing because I'm nowhere. So I'm inside the top 500, but just above 400 still. Martinez in goal. Rob Holding. David Luiz is back, so this could be the end of Rob Holding. Alexander-Arnold, Sionchu, Lingard, Mount, Mason Mount, I'm very pleased with still. Fernandes, Rafinha, Kane, Iheanacho, and Salah. So my moves are, I'm going to remove Iheanacho for Chris Wood. Because Iheanacho has Manchester United, Chelsea, and Tottenham left. That's it. That's all he's got. 3 bad fixtures. I'm never going to captain him on any of those days. Meanwhile, Chris Wood has Fulham, captain, single game day. Leeds, that's a captain Chris Wood day against Leeds. And then he's got Liverpool. Okay, that's tough. And then Sheffield United to end. So game week 38, an actual cheeky differential captain on that day. So that's 3 potential captaincy days from a player that's scoring a goal a match. And according to Sean Dyche, he's over his dead leg, and Woodsy is back in the fold, along with Popey, if you want to go to Nick Pope. So that's my move there. Thanks to Manchester United fans, I haven't planned many other moves except for one more. In game week 36, Manchester City play Newcastle, and we get to see the lineup. I am going to use a transfer to get a Man City player in. Whatever money I've got, whatever I can get, Rafinha, I think, might go on the chopping block for this. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to remove a mid-price midfielder. Rob Holding is another option. But I'm currently looking at Rafinha to whichever City defender plays.
I'd definitely go Holding. Rafinha's got Burnley and then Southampton in the last 2. So.
I just don't know whether they play. And also Leeds, I just don't think form over fixtures. And I don't think I will captain him. But Man City, I'm going to captain that player. So whichever one it is, I would love to get to Mahrez. I don't think I can. But I might go for a cheeky Phil Foden. And but I might play it safe with Diaz. Just depends who starts. I don't know which one. But one of those will go. As I said, Iheanacho, surplus to requirements, I think. I've got Sionchu to cover me. So I'm going to put a picture up of these fixtures. But these are the old fixtures. These are the fixtures we were going to discuss. And as you can see, this was awful. Because there was a number of single match days. So Fulham, Burnley. So that's why I was thinking of Chris Wood for Leicester. Meanwhile, Southampton Palace was the next day, single fixture, and then it ended with Villa Everton. So there's some problems here, especially with those of us with 1, 2, 3, even 4 transfers left. Do you really want to spend transfers on these players, on many of these players? But then a gift from the gods came, and Manchester United fans protested, postponement, panic time, and suddenly within 1 week you've got Manchester United playing like every day practically. So no wonder Bruno Fernandes is giving a little fist pump there, because he's going to be the captain for many of those days. But will he start? So it's a good chance to go through the captains now. So I've borrowed from the Premier League's page rather than Sky's, because they haven't updated it yet. So let's go with these. Go through the captains for game week 35. Friday, Leicester play Newcastle. Leicester player, I presume, for you. So is that you've got Sionchu? Is that right?
Yeah, Sionchu. He's been doing me fine. Iheanacho's obviously been good as well, and everyone who's got him is going to be on him, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Same with me. I'm looking at Iheanacho, and was a final hurrah for me. Then we move on to the Saturday. We have Leeds against Spurs, Sheffield United against Palace, City against Chelsea, Liverpool, Southampton. We get to see the Spurs line up. So yeah, for me that's Captain Kane. And if anybody's got Bale or Son and they're playing, which you imagine they would be, captain them I would imagine. So I can't. Do you see any other options that day, especially because you can't see the lineups?
Yeah, I mean, I might be on Salah just because Liverpool versus Southampton. Southampton are really leaky. Like you say, Leeds have been a bit more stable recently, better defensively.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. It'll be one of Kane or Salah. I don't trust anyone from the City Chelsea game. I mean, I think if they were to go full strength, I think they might just play that out like a tactical sort of almost a rehearsal for the final. I think maybe a 0-0 cagey is what I would think, but I think it's a bit of a risk, especially when you don't see their lineups, like you say. So yeah, Salah or Kane all day. I'll probably just edge towards Salah, I think.
Okay, Wolves against Brighton on the Sunday, 9th of May. Villa against Manchester United. West Ham against Everton. Arsenal against West Brom. So some options here, but I can't see past Fernandes. However, if you are ever going to bench Fernandes and you are Solskjaer, it might be this game because they've got Leicester and Liverpool coming up and Roma tonight. This has been recorded on Thursday lunchtime. So it's a risk. Do you think it's a risk?
Honestly, it depends what approach he wants to take, because you could argue to get the points on the board early and secure second place is probably the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
So to get 3 points versus Villa means that you don't have to worry about the 6-pointer versus Leicester. And then obviously you've got Liverpool, but you know, if you were to win the Aston Villa game and win the Leicester game, technically you could then play a reserve team versus Liverpool. But then it's Liverpool. Will he want to do that because of obviously the history around the fixture and everything? Will he want to play his strongest team? But will he be able to play his strongest team? Because obviously they're all advised by the fitness people. Maybe there's people who are in the red light zone and all sorts of stuff that they don't want to. It's so tough to gauge how he's going to do it. I think what he'll probably do is play a slightly rotated team in each one. Maybe. It's all guesswork, isn't it? So with Fernandes on this day, the fact that he's playing at 2:00 does make him a slight risk for me. But the alternatives outside of maybe Lingard at home to West Ham that people have got. I mean, for me, I've got Bowen, so I won't be doing that because he might not play. And Calvert-Lewin away to West Ham. I don't really like those options particularly anyway. So it's like, I feel like you could risk the Bruno Fernandes one, and if he doesn't play, you won't get hurt too much. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, he is obviously the stand-up captain, but if he can't play, if he's not playing, then he can't be the stand-up captain. And you know who the best captain this day is? We've already mentioned him. It's Lewis Dunk.
Yeah, Lewis Dunk is probably a really safe option, to be fair.
If I had Lewis Dunk, I would captain Lewis Dunk this day, definitely, because I don't know about that lineup. Manchester United.
Rob Holding's an outside shout, but I don't know whether he'll play either.
David Luiz is back. So, moving on to the Monday, Fulham against Burnley. Now that's going to be a blank for many people. That's my only opportunity to steal a march. I've already missed 4 goals in the last 2 games from Chris Woods, despite us, talking him up on the show. So I'm just going to do that. Get Chris Wood and captain him.
Nice. People who've got that option, that's good. For me, it'll obviously be a miss. I think Chris Wood or Anderson from Fulham are about the only 2 people I'd consider, because he might get passing bonus, but that's about it.
What will be annoying though, because
Maybe
Chris Wood's ownership is like, I don't know, 4 people or something, but it will be annoying to see that shoot up to 30 or 40%, but I can't quite see it because we've spoken on the Scoutcast, even though that's FPL related, but same principle applies, about unfashionable picks. And there is still a mindset about certain players, certain teams. Don't go there. People just won't want a Burnley striker. Still think of them as a defensive side, and they're not really at the moment. They're more of an attacking side.
I suppose it's just because in Sky you spend most of your money up top. It's where you put your armband a lot of the time. You get a lot of returns. You know, you got Kane, you got Salah who fill 2 of the spots most of the time, and at the moment you got Iñárritu who's just in ridiculous form. Although his fixtures drop off, so it is the perfect time, like you say, to swap from Iñárritu to a Wood or something like that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I can see why people won't go for it, because he could quite easily blank in that game, and suddenly you're sort of lumbered with him for 2 games, I say. But I still think he can do well in the next 2 games.
The fixtures are great, and Sheffield United last game of the season looks good. And then the Tuesday, this is much better now. Was Southampton Palace, which would have been a blank for me, but it's now got Manchester United and Leicester. Now, once again, we're not going to see. Well, we are going to see the Manchester lineup. So there you go. But if you see that Fernandes isn't there, you could go for another Manchester United option. Or alternatively, you could perhaps captain Sionchu. I mean, this could be quite a boring 0-0. And Sionchu would be my other option, I guess. Wednesday, Chelsea against Arsenal. I've got Mason Mount. We'll see the lineups. I'll go for him. If I've still got Rob Holding, obviously him, and he plays. For you, I guess Azpilicueta. You know, actually, he's going to play that.
I'd like to think so.
And
I think that should be again. I think every game that Chelsea play right now, you just think 2-0 Chelsea. It's like just it doesn't matter who they're playing, upside from City maybe. You feel like it's almost a 2-0 Chelsea, and this feels like a 2-0 Chelsea to me. So that's probably quite again.
Thursday's interesting because you've got Villa against Everton, so Calvert-Lewin, Martinez perhaps, Watkins. These all could be options, and then you've got Manchester United, Liverpool. So we don't know the lineup there for Manchester United. So I would imagine Salah might be my captain that day because I'm fairly certain he'll play. So, and he's a good option. But it is Manchester United. I just wonder there. I mean, what would you advise that day, captain wise?
Well, I think a lot's going to depend on what points Man United have earned in the previous 2 games that will decide what Ollie does here. I'd say if they've already secured second and they're in Europe and everything, there is literally no need to play the full team in this game. So he may mess around with it. I don't know. It's very tricky. There's also the fact that Man United home fans have been protesting games, so you have to. I mean, again, Tuesday the 11th, home to Leicester may tell us a little bit about this game. If that goes ahead, no problems for the Leicester game, then maybe we might be all right. But there's that concern, and then I think all being told, Man United, if he has been playing his full team in all of the games, then you'd have to think, well, maybe he does play it against Liverpool because it's the nature of the fixture, and therefore they're pretty tired, and the likes of Salah might do really well. So I think for me, it's so much dependent on what happens before. It's impossible to say. But if at all you're concerned, I think you can just go with Calvert-Lewin or someone from the early kickoff just to be really safe.
Have a backup.
Yeah. Otherwise, I may be tempted on Salah, especially if Man United just play full strength in all the games, just because I feel like he'll. If Man United have secured second, they don't really even need the points.
Now, for those that have a few more transfers left, there is the option to, with so many Manchester United games, to just go with sheer volume and try and get another Manchester United player in if you can afford it. So I had a look at something I posted on social media yesterday about minutes for Manchester United. Harry Maguire hasn't missed any. And that's a thing. I remember John Terry making that thing. Leighton Baines making that thing. To play every minute, every league minute is a thing. And Harry Maguire, I would imagine, would want to do that. So he's played, you can see a huge amount of minutes. This is sorted by minutes from Fantasy Football Scouts members area there. And we can see Harry Maguire is top in terms of minutes played. And then Fernandes. We see Fernandes is still a great option. Then Wan-Bissaka. So if you have Wan-Bissaka, you might be getting 3 games out of him. Rashford, Shaw and Lindelof are other options who get a lot of minutes there. And the reason I raise that is because if you fancy getting and just building up on that volume of matches, just getting those extra points, if you've got the transfers to spare, get another Manchester United player in to go along with Fernandes. Everyone will get Fernandes. Everyone's got Fernandes. They'll captain Fernandes. But if you say have a Harry Maguire, have your Wan-Bissaka, a Rashford as well, that can really help. And I had a look at. I hadn't even considered Harry Maguire, but I'm considering in both FPL and Sky formats because of the sheer volume of minutes that he's played. And I didn't realise he's the 6th highest scoring defender in Sky, and that's a big deal in Sky. Defenders get a lot of points. So with 160 points, I thought, I think if I had the transfers, I would make that move just to build it up a bit, especially if you're like maybe 10, 20 points off your mini league lead, or into the higher echelons of the top 100. It could be that extra 10 points, 20 points or so to get you over the edge. I don't know what you think about that.
I think there's an argument to go from from Harry Kane, because Kane will play. Let me just get the fixtures up in my screen. Kane plays on the 8th versus Leeds. Most people have already got him in our team. So obviously we get that game. Then Man United go on a run of 3 games: Villa, Leicester, and Liverpool. And like you say, there's a little bit of risk about whether they'll play 3, but it's looking quite likely for the likes of Maguire. So you're obviously getting 3 games straight away for that one transfer to take Kane out. Then if you look at the next week after it, obviously Man United don't play. Spurs play at home to Wolves. Okay, so you could either bring Kane back then if you had the transfers, or ignore it because Liverpool are playing West Brom and most people have got Salah. So you could just captain Salah, and if you weren't going to captain Kane anyway, you might only lose out on a goal, maybe 2 goals at worst, something like that if you're really unlucky. So I don't think that's particularly a bad play. And then you've obviously got the next game week where Man United are at home to Fulham in the early kickoff at the moment, it's 6 o'clock. I don't know if that's due to change, but home to Fulham's a good game for a defender. I mean, it's a fantastic game. So there's an argument, I think, that you can lose Kane entirely if you wanted to, because although Kane's got home to Villa afterwards, again, there's other options. Liverpool are playing Burnley, got Everton at home to Wolves. There are other options. And then Man United play Wolves on the final day, another team that struggled to score. And Spurs are playing away to Leicester, which is a pretty tricky game. So I think there's an argument to either ditch him, Kane, and then bring him back, or just entirely ignore it. And you could do well just through sheer volume of fixtures. I don't like the fact that they don't pick up passing and tackles that much. It is more to do with the fact that they've been getting the clean sheets and he plays more the minutes. Wan-Bissaka, I mean, it's slightly updated the defender list, by the way. I think Harry Maguire is now the 8th highest scoring defender.
Oh, is he?
But the 5th highest scoring defender is Wan-Bissaka, who's probably likely to play all the games as well, you would imagine. And he's 0.5 cheaper, and obviously he's got tackles that he relatively often gets. He's even got passing tier 2 in a couple of games. So I think I'd probably favour him if I was going to do it. I mean, I don't have the moves to do it, so I won't be. But I think it's a relatively decent move. I mean, it's all about trying to get an edge now, right? We've only got a couple of weeks left. And if you're sat in 2nd or 3rd or something, and the guy in front's not got many transfers, there's an art. If they were to get 2 out of 3 clean sheets in that game, and maybe he gets a bonus or 2, suddenly you're looking at 20 points. So it's a decent edge potentially for a transfer, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry about I was just. I think I might have been looking at price rather than points for the defenders there. But yeah, if I key in all defenders here. All clubs and defenders. Yes, you're right. Wan-Bissaka there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth best defender.
It's only 11 points better, but so they're much of a muchness. But
nevertheless, a great option again. And we've got the minutes up on the screen there, and really, Harry Maguire, Fernandes, and Wan-Bissaka, I think, are the ones you would consider either having, keeping, getting, because of just the sheer minutes. And that's a really great move if you've got the transfers left. So for example, in my B team, I've got the transfers left, so that get rid of Harry Kane. I want to give myself the option of getting Harry Kane back again, so that's why I won't be following that with maybe 3 transfers.
Abandon him. That's the go for broke strategy, isn't it? If you're thinking, well, Kane's not going to score that well in the last 2 or 3 games, and if he does, still the Man United defender could match him because they've got good defensive games. It's essentially 1 clean sheet is 1 goal. So will they be close? So it's kind of like I wouldn't advise not going with Kane, but if you're 2nd or 3rd and you feel like you've got no choice, you could Hail Mary it, couldn't you, and just hope that Kane doesn't do.
If you're happy with your team, you've got maybe 5+ transfers left, then and we've hardly got any fixtures left. I think that's a great move, isn't it? Because you're going to get those 3 players, and it's a player that no one's going to have. So going to be everyone's going to be sitting there with Kane, earning nothing. Meanwhile, you could be getting 30, 50 points. I don't know. You could be getting quite a lot from getting a Harry Maguire or a Wan-Bissaka in.
Well, it doesn't even have to be Kane. There's I think there's a few other teams as well. Basically, anyone who plays Friday or Saturday this week, and who then doesn't have a double, which I think is Leeds. I think maybe. I can't remember what the teams are, but if you look at it, if you've got any of those players in your team, they could move to a Manchester United asset, basically.
Okay, that's really good advice there. Let's have a look at some of the questions that we've had. So Dan Cox, who's won Sky, asks you, he says, calls you the Godfather. Pleased with the fixture movements being low on transfers, are you? So I didn't phrase that as a question there, just as a statement. Are you pleased with the fixture movements being so low on transfers?
Yeah, I am because obviously I've now got a captain on that day, so that's good. But the problem is everyone has, and I don't think many people would have gone for the alternatives. And in some ways, I almost hope that they would have used their transfers on them because they probably would have failed. So I'm kind of looking at it a bit pessimistic and think, well, I probably maybe preferred to stay. Especially the most annoying one is the fact I've held Calvert-Lewin all this time. I know he's been scoring of late occasionally, but I held him for that Thursday, the 13th of May, where it's Villa versus Everton. Yeah. And then they put Man United versus Liverpool on that day. So suddenly anyone who's held him all this time and suffered all the pain, in the hope to get that reward, it may not come through now because you can just captain Bruno Fernandes or Salah on that day. So you could argue it's actually hurt us a little bit as well.
It has. It's helped me personally with 3 transfers. I'd already had a move in mind. I didn't want to go really into those terrible teams. A Burnley striker on form will do me. I don't want to go down the Southampton Palace route. So it's helped me there, and it's definitely helped those with more transfers because, as you said, you've got that option: remove Kane, get in a Manchester United player, and you could potentially be getting a 3 for 0. And that that player is one that hardly anyone's going to have because they're all going to be sitting there with Kane. Ian Parrin asks, looking at the confirmed fixture schedule, the new fixture schedule that is for the next 3 game weeks. So he's looking at the confirmed fixtures so far. What is the one transfer move that now looks to make much more sense given the changes than it did this time yesterday? So in terms of that, is there a particular transfer that makes more sense now? I guess the Manchester United Kane to a Manchester United player is the one, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much at this. I apologise because, I think that's the one that stuck out to me mainly. I mean, obviously the covering, you've already mentioned the Chris Wood. If you still haven't done it, he still covers a day that no one else will have. I mean, you just have to think if Wood gets 1 or 2 goals in that game and you've captained him, you've smashed it. You've absolutely smashed like 20, 30 points on a lot of people, which these opportunities are running out. I think the only other ones really that stand out are the fact that these teams were just poor fixtures left, like Leicester. After they play home to Newcastle, you already mentioned taking them out. Away to Man United, away to Chelsea, home to Spurs. It's not a good run, is it? And we've all got quite a few Leicester, I think, or at least one, because of their fantastic run just beforehand. So I feel like taking a Leicester asset out. You've also got the chat that Chelsea and Man City, are just going so far in Europe that maybe you can write off one of their games later on down the line.
Yeah.
One of those players out basically for a Man United asset or to jump back onto a Leeds asset, for their 3 good games at the end are probably the only things that really stand out to me. I also like the fact that, Ollie Watkins has got tough games. Tottenham and Chelsea's been playing well. He's an option, I think, for people. And Calvert-Lewin, despite me just slagging him off a bit, he has got that double. Then he's got home to Sheffield United, which is the absolute money game, and home to Wolves. So there's a few options. Antonio is another one, like you said, who just sprung out of nowhere. Who, if you've got the options and are willing to take the risk, those final 3 games. You could argue all 4 actually. Home to Everton, away to Brighton, away to West Brom, home to Southampton. That if he can keep fit for those games, he's a differential captain that I think makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, definitely. This leads on to the next question, really, from Scott McDonald. He's looking to make up 60 points in his mini league. Where are my 3 transfers best used? So I think that's doable in 3. So he suggested Mahrez or another City option against Newcastle, perhaps. So one of the advantages of that is we will know the lineup in game week 36 when Manchester City play Newcastle. And I think that's a good call. I think that could really smash it that day. I don't have any City, for example, so I'll definitely be getting a City player in.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say on that is, so let's say you get Mahrez for the Newcastle game and he's playing and he does fantastic and he does well. Let's say he gets you 30 points. Great. You've burnt off half your deficit. But then you have to factor in the next 2 games. And if he doesn't play those next 2 games, what would the alternative person have chipped away at it? And maybe you got a 4 and then a 5, then suddenly it's only a 20-point game. Yeah. So you are kind of really Hail Marying it on that one game. No, that's a really good game to do it on. But it's just something to consider. Is that player you're going to bring in then going to play the remaining games as well? Not so sure in Mahrez's case. That's the only thing I'd say. So maybe there are, more consistent options. But definitely he is one of the. I mean, he's potentially he is on penalties. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
now, isn't he? Well, Aguero's final games,
Well,
maybe he takes
Aguero
them.
will be on penalties if he's on the pitch, I would imagine.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like Aguero has got more chance of playing the remaining 3 games. Is on penalties up front. It's his swan song. I I think if you're taking a risk and you really want to catch people out, Aguero is probably one of the best punts for the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
I think. I mean, he's not quite the same player, but I think playing up front for Man City just means you're going to get some points, aren't you, at some point?
Okay, that could be so. There could be a sort of a daisy chain move with Kane to a Manchester United player, then a Manchester United player to Aguero.
Yeah, that's something I looked at.
Oh, that's something I might look at. I will leave him with no transfers, but
I just feel like if you look at that lineup and it's Newcastle and Aguero's in the starting lineup, people are going to be very tempted.
yeah. Do you know what I'm thinking? I don't know what it is in Sky, but in FPL it was game week 8, and it was when Newcastle turned up and he scored about 1,000,000 goals against them, and
He scored 4 in like 60 minutes.
oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Other options are, I think the Chris Wood option is a good one. I think that's going to get you some points, and he has good fixtures towards the end. So just one bad fixture, but Iheanacho to Chris Wood will get more points. I'm hoping.
An exodus of Leicester players moving towards. Antonio's another one of these explosive players who can do really well.
Yeah.
Man City, I think Aguero surely plays the last 3 games. He's not going to play in the Champions League, is he?
No, and I think he'll come on. I think he'll at least come on. Now, Man City play at home as well, so we've got home fans coming back. Is that the final game? Game week 37. Manchester City at home to Everton. There's your Aguero captaincy. But also, we're looking at away, so they're away to Newcastle.
Well, I think for me
away
as well.
Brighton.
Just to slip this in here, the season I came fourth, I had Aguero captain on the final day, and it was the famous Aguero moment.
Yeah.
Who it's really weird because I'm basically a Man United fan, and obviously he scored in the final minute as my captain, and then got man of the match as a result, and basically secured me that spot. But at the same time, obviously lost my team the league. So, but 17 grand was more than compensation for that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, very well done there. Yeah, I remember I can't remember if I was playing Sky then or had him there, but I definitely owned him in NFPL that year, and it was great when it went in. Luke NDN asks, from now until the end of the season, which 3 players, he's asked for each category, but let's just keep it simple, which 3 players do you think will be the most valuable, score the highest amounts of points for the season running? Well, I guess it's not Kane. If we're looking at the season running, 3 players, I wouldn't like to guess. I guess depends who's going to show up. I think Antonio is in with a potential shout. I would probably say Fernandes and maybe a Liverpool player. I don't know. What would you think?
Yeah, I think when you look at the fixtures, the fact that Liverpool have got a double and that they've got Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Palace. I think you'd be hard pressed not to say a Liverpool player, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think Salah's therefore got to be up there.
Yeah.
Certainly in the top 3. You could argue Trent Alexander-Arnold as well might be one of them. I think Bruno Fernandes, if he's playing all these games, the Liverpool, Leicester, Villa, and then he's also got Fulham and Wolves after that, you have to throw him in the hat because he's just ridiculous. Kane's there, because he's Kane, but and it's more to do with the fact that Man City and Chelsea assets, their fixtures are a bit mixed and we don't know whether they'll play. So I suppose those 3 maybe, but Kane's a bit of a cop-out. I feel like it could be another Man United player. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the likes of Greenwood and Cavani and stuff like that, who, if they're starting the games, they could easily outscore him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like they're going to be different players that we would ordinarily rely on. So obviously Salah's usual, but I don't think it will be Kane.
I mean, if Jack Grealish was suddenly magically to turn up, I would say him, but I don't think that looks likely. And Watkins has been doing very well. The games are tough, but Watkins he's been doing well, so maybe him.
Yeah. As Steve-O asks a very similar question, are there standout picks for the run-in, any must-have? So I think we've pretty much answered that, really, that it may not be Kane, but it's very likely to be Liverpool players. And
Liverpool players, Aguero, we've already mentioned them,
I'm very tempted to use my final transfers in a what-the-hell move. to get Aguero in.
I think why not? You know, if you're not going to be winning any cash, or you're not.
No, I'm just playing for fun this season.
Yeah.
No, I haven't complicated it with any sort of leagues or anything. So yeah, I think I might do that. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, just before we go, just want to mention the members area there. So we'll look at the minutes there for Manchester United, but there's plenty of Opta-driven stats in there, which will be of use to Sky managers and FPL managers alike. If you've enjoyed this episode, do press like on our YouTube channel, but also wherever you receive podcasts. But in the meantime, Luke, thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with your now massive Game Week 35 in Sky.
Thanks, mate. I shall see you on the next one.